Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of Homemade. And today you all, we are making, you guessed it, it is a very simple recipe. It is actually a dessert today. You all, we are making a cheesecake topped with brownie. Now, it sounds harder than it is, but you all, I promise you, this recipe is so simple. We are going to take our basic cheesecake recipe and our basic brownie recipe, combine them together, and that's going to give us our cheesecake brownie. Now, we are going to bake our cheesecake for about 45 minutes. Then we're going to come back, prepare our brownie mixture, pour it on top of the cheesecake, and then let it cook for about 30 more minutes. Because in all, we wanted to cook for about an hour and 15 minutes. Go ahead and get started on my crust. Now, for my crust, I am going to use the vanilla wafers. If you want to use the Oreos, or if you want to use just the regular graham cracker crust, feel free. It is totally up to you. I like the vanilla wafer crust, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to take my vanilla wafers, pour them into my food processor, and go ahead and just get those chopped up. Pour these into my bowl. I am going to add 1 stick of melted butter. And I'm also going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now, if you want to add the cinnamon or anything, any other flavor in there, feel free. I do like to spray the sides of my pan because I don't put the parchment paper around the sides. Now we are going to press this evenly onto the bottom of our pan. And because I want my cheesecake to show in between my crust and my brownie layer, I'm not going to press my crust all the way up my pan. Now I'm going to pop this into the freezer until I get done with my cheesecake mixture. And let me pop this in the freezer and I'll be right back. All right. So now that our crust is in the freezer, we're going to go ahead and get started on our cheesecake filling. We are going to use 3 8-ounce blocks of room temperature cream cheese. Everything that I use in this recipe, it is room temperature because it just mixes so much better. And if you'll notice, I am using a hand mixer for this. I just like to use the hand mixer because to me, it gets out all the clumps. I am going to mix that until the cream cheese becomes creamy. I'm going to add my 1 cup of granulated sugar. Make sure that's mixed in there really well. Once my sugar is mixed in, I'm going to add my 3 room temperature eggs, but I'm going to add them 1 at a time. Now, it's really important that we don't overmix this. So once the eggs are mixed in, you'll go ahead and add your other one. I'm going to scrape down my sides really quick because I don't like any lumps to be present in the cheesecake. And I'm also going to add in 1 tablespoon of clear vanilla. If you don't have clear vanilla, the regular vanilla is just fine. In this bowl, I have 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and I also have 2 tablespoons of corn starch. I'm just going to mix that in really well. I am about to add in 8 ounces of room temperature full fat sour cream. Just going to mix that in really well. Now that we've mixed our cheesecake, I am going to go ahead and pour it into my pan. You do want to put this into a water bath. And if you'll notice, I do have my pan wrapped in foil because I am going to put it into the water bath. When I say put it into a water bath, you want to put your cheesecake into a baking dish that is tall enough to hold water that at least covers 1/4 of your pan. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into the oven. My oven is already preheated to 325 degrees. I'm going to set my timer for 45 minutes. After the 45 minutes is up, I'm going to come back and put on my brownie mixture and cook it for another 30 minutes on 325 degrees. After it cooks on the 325 degrees for the 75 minutes, then we are going to crack our oven, leave the cheesecake in there, and let our cheesecake come down to room temperature before we wrap it and put it in the refrigerator. Now, you do want to refrigerate this for at least 12 hours before you cut it. Our cheesecake has about 5 or 6 more minutes to cook, so we're going to go ahead and start preparing our brownie batter so we can pour it on top of our cheesecake. In here, I'm going to mix 3/4 cups of granulated sugar, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and I'm also going to add 2 room temperature eggs. Now to that, I am going to add 1 melted stick of butter, and this is real butter, you all. And I did kind of let it cool for about 3 minutes. Also going to add in 3 tablespoons of oil, and it's just regular vegetable oil. I am going to add 2 tablespoons of vanilla flavor, and I'm also going to add in my 1/2 cup of cocoa at this point. And I just want to make sure my cocoa is mixed in really well. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. You don't want to overmix it, so I'm just kind of barely folding it in until my flour disappears. My brownie batter is ready, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, pour it over my cheesecake, set my timer for 30 more minutes. Once that 30 minutes is up, again, I'm going to crack my oven, let it come down to room temperature. We're going to wrap it up, put it in the fridge for at least 12 hours, come back and cut into this goodness. Our cheesecake has chilled, you all, for about 12 hours. I like to decorate mine. You don't have to. It's time for us to cut into this goodness, you all. Oh, look at that. So we have our brownie layer, cheesecake layer, and our crust. This is it. When you try this recipe, you will try it. Make sure you leave your pictures in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, share our channel if you want to keep seeing our easy homemade recipes. I always say this, cooking, it's as easy or as hard as you make it. But I promise you, if you just keep it simple, be yourself, life in itself can be so much easier. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Homemade. And until next time, continue to be great.